Check, check, check.
We can hear you. I can't hear that.
Hey, it was turned off. How's that?
Better, thank you.
Basics. Okay. So what I was saying is the BBC went away on the MLS. Has anything happened? Was there, do you guys remember in 1999 when, hey, probably not you, okay? When we were turning to the year 2000 and there was like going to be, everything was supposed to shut down because the computers weren't formatted for 2000. And so everything was supposed to die. So for New Year's, my cousin and I went to Vegas because when it was 2000, because we were like, if it's going to die, let's just go down. The world was supposed to end. Do you remember that? And everything was fine. We continue. We are 24, almost 25 years past when everything was supposed to end. So in some regards, people have been coming at this with the same kind of energy of, hi, possible ending of the world. But it happened on Wednesday, went away, or 2 days ago. How are we doing?
No change so far.
No change so far. Any questions or problems that have come up that you want to talk about before we start? Okay, great. So I wanted to show you on the Home Hub where we printed out these cheat sheets, but also this is on the Home Hub here to show you what the path is and what to do. So today I want to talk particularly about buyers more, but we can help answer any of your questions as we go through. So on this right here, does everybody have the packet? So this is the second page on the Home Hub. We only need this for like another day, one more day, okay? So I'm going to quiz you now. I'm going to quiz you. You have somebody that is under contract and has been under contract prior to Wednesday, okay? Either a listing or a buyer. What do you need to do? Nothing. Unless you never got something signed, which is not good anyway, okay? Let's say you had a listing agreement or a buyer broker. It's an EBBA is the official, what we're calling that now. EBBA, exclusive buyer broker agreement. You had one signed, but they're not under contract. You had one signed prior to technically tomorrow, but you had one signed. What do you need to do?
Add the addendum. Temporary addendum. EBBA addendum.
Okay, so that addendum, which is we have them linked on the Home Hub, but I just printed it out so we could talk about it. So on the addendum, on this, it has the addendums linked. And just like Hiram said, those are temporary. It's only for listing agreements, buyer broker agreements that were signed prior to the change. Anything new, we don't use the addendum. So that will go away, like probably next week, that addendum will. It's just there. Don't worry, we saved it. They're already issued. My dog ate my homework kind of issue. We have them. So going forward, for the listing agreement, what do we use going forward for new clients? The new listing agreement. For buyers, going forward, what do we use for buyers? Yeah, the new buyer, right? No addenda, nothing like that. And there's a couple of little differences that the brokers have been super vocal about, changes on particularly the new listing agreement that makes things confusing. And so they're fighting that. There's going to be an update and a change on that coming up at some point. But if we can go to this cheat sheet right here, which is also up on the Home Hub, so you can go there anytime. So this right here, that's up on the screen as well, Zoomers. This is laying out what do we do. So this is for all new clients that have signed the new listing agreement, new buyer broker. Okay, so if you go here on this first part right here, representing the buyer path. Okay, so prior to showing homes, do you hear me? Prior to showing homes, we have to get it's not optional anymore. It wasn't optional before, but now it's for realsies, not optional, to get your buyer broker signed before you show houses. Somebody tell me why. Okay. Kinda, yes, but can I get a mic? I can just run it. Or yeah, Aaron. I just want to make sure the Zoom people hear the questions. So it is a compliance thing that Hiram said.
I think the real reason is so then the buyers are aware of how much you're getting paid and how you're getting paid, and you're disclosing that information up front.
That's a part of it, yes. What else? So we don't get Mike in trouble. Well, Mike has documented he has taught you everything, so now it's on you. We have documented that he has done his thing. We taught you how to do it. We can teach it to you, but we can't learn it for you, right? There's one super critical that we haven't said yet of why this BBC has to be signed prior. You no longer have a protection of the MLS for commission. There is no protection for you on the MLS for your commission to be paid by the seller. That field is gone. You're not protected to be paid anymore. That happened. That's already happened. So your BBC and this process here is your protection for getting paid. So that it wasn't as big of a deal before because it was stated, recorded on the MLS. That is not anymore. I feel I can like see expressions now. Tell me what you're feeling, what is going on. And you all have the exact same expression. It's kind of tripping me out. You're ticked about it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Ton of extra work.
It's a lot of extra work. No one knows who's paying who.
Idiot attorneys.
Idiot attorneys.
40% commission, fighting that you get 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and it's like, you even want to be a realtor, it's talking video, it's like, it's almost better because most people don't know there's between a real estate agent and a realtor.
Yeah.
And so if one person's like, hey, like, I need you to sign a contract before I show you the house because they're a realtor. The person's like, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I don't have to sign with you. It seems more advantageous. If I was a consumer, I would rather go with someone that is not going to force me to sign, whether you're a realtor or an agent. It doesn't really matter to me. So it's almost now like more of a disadvantage to be a part of the NAR.
I'm really glad that you said that because I want to talk a little bit about that today.
What's the advantage of being a realtor anymore? Like pay a fee and
Yeah.
I don't think any of us.
Do you have to be a realtor to do real estate?
No. You have to be in this office.
You have to be whatever your broker is. You have to be whatever your broker is. But there's a lot of discussion around that. There's a lot of discussion around it. Regionally, locally, nationally, there's a lot around that. Let's talk about like why at this moment, with the information that's there with with what is out there today, right at this moment, are there advantages to be a realtor, to be a part of it? You feel no advantage.
Not that I'm aware of.
So what, yeah, let's get Mike's because I think this is an important discussion.
I think there's always an advantage. I do feel like there's an advantage. Right now, it doesn't feel like there's an advantage, but understand that when we pay, like right now, I'm not happy about either, but understand when we're paying our contribution to the NAR to fight things, like we're in the state of Utah. We don't have taxes on per transaction that our clients should be like. We have blessings that happen. Just because dad whooped your butt one time, he's not a bad guy. There's a value in.
Yeah, let's
So-
talk about it. Yeah, no, it's good.
No.
We'll talk about it.
Okay, so currently right now, I don't know. I can answer the question, but
It's hard.
through my channels. I
Articulate and
apologize.
stuff.
There's more value than just the the commission on the MLS, because before we had this MLS, we had a different MLS. So there's additional value.
Well, let me ask a question. So if we didn't have, or I just want to first say me, okay, as the owner of this company, okay, for me, I will do the best thing for you guys, right? That's the number one thing. Me and Mike care about you and your business. That's number one. We care about that more than we care about Keller Williams, that we care about the board, that we care about, it's us, you guys, your business. So we base decisions on that, okay? And so there is an argument for what everybody is saying. Let me just throw out a question. So today, right now, if we weren't, what would we have, what would change if we didn't have our association right now, today, with what we have? I am so glad that you brought this up, because this is not the thing that we talk about. So, yeah, Robin, I have an answer, but
Well, I think the answer would be that there wouldn't be, not the word laws, but there wouldn't be like, here's how we're going to do it.
Regulations.
There wouldn't be like direction, and it would just be all total chaos, and it would all fall apart. Just like with any governing body, without a governing body, everything falls apart.
without like a B plan or something, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so it's like I set this up, like having one on opposing sides. It's perfect. What? Okay. Another one, Hiram?
My question, right, so as far as like governing body, isn't the Utah Association of Realtors different than NAR?
It is a part,
Oh, it's a part of,
yeah.
gotcha.
So something, we don't talk a lot about this because we haven't needed to, but what we get from our associations is the majority of our forms. Did you know that? So the REPC itself comes from the division, okay? And the division of real estate is our license and our ability to do real estate.
So it's kind of like federal and then like local.
In
It's
a
kinda-
sense.
Gotcha. So
There,
so
but there's
federal-
no, it's kind, no, I would say it's like the legislative branch and the judicial branch. More like that, right? I don't want to say, I don't know, I don't even know. So, so what we get today, right now, this moment today, what we get is we get all of our forms, we get our regulation, we get all of that from the boards. There's arguments right now that may not be the thing for us in the future, okay? And so there's a lot of discussion about that. But today, right now, and there may be a point that we collectively decide there's a different option that's better. At this moment today, if we didn't have our association, we didn't have our forms, every transaction would have to go through an attorney. Every transaction would be specific, individual, and the fees would go up quite a bit. So when we're talking about fees and who's covering these fees and how that goes, the amount of our dues that we pay yearly to cover all of the transactions that we do is definitely much lower than what it would be to retain an attorney for every transaction that we do. There is something between those two options that's not there yet. And so we have a big change. And so with big change comes other changes, typically. So we don't know what the answer for that is right now. But I also do think as business owners, which we all are, it's important to be open to the possibility that the way things have always been may not be a benefit in the future. We just don't have what that next answer is. So I think all of us need to be open to the fact that this is the best option and that it may not be in the future. We just don't know what that is yet. There's just not enough information, and there's not the B plan in effect to be the fallback. Is that fair to say? Does that make sense to everyone? Yes.
Yeah, and I'm just stepping in, so it's kind of all relatively new, but I think from an outsider perspective, it almost just gives you that clarity of like, oh, well, this is what's gonna happen, rather than like kind of in limbo. For me,
Yeah.
at least, as the consumer, I would want to sign something for safety of like, okay, yeah, I'm clearly working with this agent, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of people out there who do what we do, right? And so to immediately have an idea of we're either going to do this or we're either going to do this.
Mhm.
That is very clear in a transaction.
Yeah,
But also the world is changing. My generation is very different than the older generations. And I think we don't mind signing things because it gives it a more professional sense.
yeah, I
But
agree with that.
also the value that we're offering, we're showing them right up front. Hey, we just want you to sign this so you're aware of our value. And then we can also be accountable for the value that we give you.
Yeah,
Because right away you're understanding what I'm offering and like what that is showing up as in money.
yeah, thanks for the perspective. I think we sometimes do put our own worry into other people's, right? And our own, we assume like, oh, people aren't going to sign that, but what I am hearing from daily real estate activities, consumers are okay. There hasn't been some huge, big upheaval. I just think it's important as agents that we can speak to that. So if you have a consumer, a buyer that says, so to your point, Hiram, they say, well, why am I going to use you? You're a realtor. I don't need a realtor, blah, blah, blah. I think it's important that we understand and that we're open and we say, hey, I'm a professional. This is the way that I feed my family, is by helping you. This is my number one thing that I do, right? And it's okay if you don't have kids, it still counts. What were you going to say? Hold on, let me finish my thought. That you can be open and say, there may be a time that it doesn't serve our industry to be a part of these associations anymore. But that is not this time now, because it would cost you an attorney's fees. We'd have to have something very specific drawn up for you, and it would be a higher expense for you. This is a way that we can protect you and your purchase today. And as your real estate professional, I keep up on all of these things. If at any point there is a change that's going to be a better thing for you, you'll be hearing it from me. Try not to pay attention to the chatter that's out there. There's just a lot of opinions. It's almost like the universe, the internet is one big brainstorming session, right? It's just people throwing out ideas and then other people taking it as fact or as direction or things like that, where people are just kind of speaking out. Let's go to Rebecca and then we can.
So I'm not seeing people having a hard time signing it because they were always supposed to sign something. That was just what we did. I always had somebody sign. That's not a big deal. Where I think it's going to be a big issue is like, okay, I just scheduled 4 showings an hour ago, and now I need to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that right now.
And I think the bigger issue is, and because of you're talking about this big brainstorming because I went on one of the sites just to see what they were saying about asking. And literally the ideas are one end to the other. And I'm like, so there's no regulation. Like people are saying you absolutely should not be telling the buyers what they're paying. And then other people are like, why wouldn't you? And then the buyers are like, so I don't even know if I can qualify for this house if I'm also supposed to pay your commission and I don't have a down payment, but I don't find out about that until I fall in love with the house and write an offer.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. So we are here. You guys are all right here. And we are deciding how we're going to do it here. And then we're going to change it if we need to, if things change. So that's the part to pay attention to, because we get to decide how we're going to run our business. And again, in the brainstorming sesh, which is the internet, there's a lot of different opinions with that might work best for their area, for their MLS, for their situation. Okay, so for their whatever and whatever. Oh. So which one?
Darren Mansell was like, oh yeah.
Oh.
I called a listing agent to see if they're gonna pay, and they said, we're not gonna tell you. And he's like, how do I move forward if I don't know?
Yeah.
And that's ridiculous. That's what I'm ticked about.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. Jared-
Oh, what'd he say?
Like, anybody can call me and I'm gonna tell you what.
Uh-huh.
They're paying for you. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, and then they said something like, well, how are you gonna handle that with your sellers? And he said, don't worry about my sellers. I handle my clients.
There we go.
Mic drop, and I was like,
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Well, let's go through go
I
ahead.
just had a quick question. So going back to where you said, if you were not a member, like you're not a realtor, you're a real estate
Uh-huh.
agent, So now just a real estate agent has to have an attorney.
The only thing that is available, you don't have to have an attorney, but the only forms that are available, it's only like a couple. The REPC is available as a part of but the majority of the forms that are out there are
You don't have
board
access
forms.
to.
So we need to do that. Because. Real quick, the part of and maybe I just remembered or whatever the case may be, but part of the reasons why we're realtors and instead of the real estate agents. So for example, being a part of the Salt Lake Board of Realtors, you have access to all the homes that have access to the key boxes. If you're a real estate agent, no, you do not have access to all the homes with the key boxes.
Yeah.
The super e-key, it's like, the process is different.
I just helped my sister buy a cabin in Park City. Like they bought one that wasn't on it's just only on the PCMLS. So I feel like a loser kind of, cause I'm like, will you open the door for us? Ooh, I can't, it's debilitating to not just be able to go do my job, right?
One
And-
quick, oh, sorry. Oh, just to add on to that is I'm actually dealing with a transaction in New York where they have lawyers, and trying to deal with two lawyers, two agents is a freaking nightmare, and it takes forever to get anything done. Like any date changes, anything we're doing is like just crazy. And I'm not even really involved. I'm just like trying to help out and help the agent out. And it's a whole long story, but it's crazy town of like the way and how slowly everything moves with lawyers. So that's the thing.
So while she's doing that real quick, another reason I think we just need to come out of fantasy land and come back to reality. I'm very A personality, so I apologize for being blunt, but we need to like slow down and stop trying to exit the National Association of Realtors, because that's not the smart move. We have forms, we have access to the homes. We are an organized family versus a chaos family. They're different. There's kids that didn't grow up with structure and there's kids that did. We're very structured in our format. What's scary part, which the reason why I was here, the reason why I thought we were here, we're going Wild Wild West now. So meaning like there's like, yes, you're going to have conversations. They're like, if anything, this is good for our industry because Uncle Bob coming in and stealing you working for a client for like 6 months and Uncle Bob saying, I got my license and you losing your transaction, that goes away. Yay. But the part that finds it really confusing is, okay, now what?
Okay. And that's the part that we're going to talk about. And I want to respect everybody's opinions about all of this. And I think there's a lot out there that's still unknown. And so I think among us, like this is the place to voice your concerns and your worries. And I don't know if I want to be a part of that. I definitely think we need to be a part of that. I think all of it is valid and they're important things to talk about. If today, right now, though, I think it's important to help and feel like we're reeling in this wild, wild west and have some direction of what we do for the situations that come up with, like Darren Mansell was saying, right? How we can navigate that and simplify what exactly do we do. So if we go back to, actually, if you want to turn to this, and this is an email from Mike that he sent. So he can't be here. He's so cute. He's stressed that we're all getting the information that we need in the time that we need it. So I just wanted to put his exact words for what the email is that he sent me. And we put it up on the site too, just so you have it, but I'm going to read it out loud. Oh, typo. That was from me. Okay. So BBC is removed. Now what? Does everybody kind of feel like they want to scream? Now what? Step 1. When you identify a property that your buyer is interested in, give the listing agent a call and ask if they are operating a cooperative compensation. So for me, my process, and I really encourage you to do this, anything that's said, you follow up with a text or an email. Based on our conversation, blah, 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 blah. Especially if you have multiple properties that you're showing multiple clients that you're showing multiple properties to, in a way to keep it all, and that you have it in writing, that the conversation happened, right? Possible scenarios based on what the listing agent says. And then we'll go through this simplified, but I just want to read it. Number one, if the listing agent says yes, and the amount being offered is X, the next step would be for you to prepare the real estate brokerage compensation agreement. This form is, in essence, our new escrow form. You would go ahead and fill out the amount of cooperative compensation that the listing agent indicated is being offered, and you sign it. Then send it to the listing agent to have it signed prior to writing the offer. It doesn't have to be prior to showing the property, okay? Prior to writing the offer. Note, if you write an offer and go under contract without having this real estate brokerage compensation agreement signed, there's no guaranteed you will get paid by the listing brokerage. You're already going to get, you have it in writing already that you're going to get paid by the buyer, because we already did that before we showed properties, right? We got that signed.
I mean, a lot of times I think we always.
Experiencing this with our clients is that they find a house that was just listed that same day. They want to go at 5 p.m. and it's now 3 or whatever, right? We can call and we can get an answer.
Yep.
But we just have that, we don't have it in writing yet. And
Which part in writing?
you know, I mean, if I called a listing agent and asked them if they have, you know, what they're offering basically, and they tell me something, I mean, I don't have any proof of that. That
That's why I'm
scares me.
saying send them a text.
Yeah.
Or an email and
just-
say to them on the phone, I'm going to send you a text.
Just to
Because
confirm that.
this is the advantage we have right now. How fast are listings selling?
Not very fast.
They're not selling that fast. So
Not
for
all.
this to
Some of
hap-
them are. Yeah.
Yeah, but for this to happen right now, where we're in a slow, is a big advantage for us. Think about like the end from August 2020 through 2021. If this all had come out and this had all happened then, whoa, right? So we have the advantage where listing agents they want to sell their house. If somebody is calling me and saying, I have someone who wants to see your house, I mean, but agents also don't answer their phone. So it's going to be interesting getting out there. But when you're on the phone with them, hey, they want to see this house today at 5. Are you offering compensation? Is your seller, we have to always say seller and buyer, okay? Is your seller offering compensation? Great. I'm going to send you a follow-up text. If you could please respond quickly, that'd be great. And then I'll schedule it in showing, like aligned or whatever. Sorry, Sean, and then Hiram.
So here's my question, because my goal is not to be sued. That's my goal. To be sued, someone to come after my money, family, etc. That is my goal. So going back to the, because I wasn't a part of that forum. When I represent a seller, now I'm representing the seller. You guys are representing the buyer, and we can play role play. I don't care. But here we go. When I'm representing a seller, and you call me up, yes, I'm going to ask you, what does your buyer broker say? Because per the law, the whole basis of this was like, we can't get paid extra. You set your value, that's your value, that's what you get paid, right?
Yeah.
So my question, because I'm
The buyer.
very confused now, because we're going back, I need it reeled in just for me to understand. So I'm going to ask what so I'm more scenario 2 for me, but under scenario 1, I guess my question for you is, I think what you were trying to say is, hey, I got a buyer broker signed. We're going to go look at houses. Nobody's picking up the phone. What do I do? You know? Is that what you were saying?
Well, I'm just not done getting through the scenario.
Oh,
Let me get through her scenario really quick. So she make calls. Perfect scenario, they answer the phone. Yes, we're offering this. You send a text, you schedule it, and you go. They don't answer, but you can still get it scheduled in a line or whatever. You can still go show the property. What is your fiduciary duty to your client? And your buyer knows they're paying you. If they want to see this house, the buyer broker agreement says they're the ones that are paying you. And they still want to see this house. You just need to let them know, hey, I haven't been able to get a hold of them yet. I'm not completely sure what it is that they will be offering, but we still have time. If it's you don't even know if you like the property. So we can go see it. If it's one that you're pursuing, I'll continue to reach out to the seller. If not, if you don't like it, then it's a moot point. If they don't want that house, it's a moot point, right? But your fiduciary is to show your client, what they want to see. You inform them of everything, let them make the decision if they want to see the property. But the agreement it is complicated. And the buyer broker agreement, that's why we gotta get this signed ahead of time so that they understand I'm paying this. But if they love the house and it's a perfect fit for them, they already know that they may be paying you the commission. But this is the other side of it. Let me finish this thought really quick. The other side of it is if you're representing a seller and the seller originally says, I don't want to offer buyer broker compensation. And then you list the property, blah, blah, blah. And again, when you're representing a seller, you explain to them all the reasons that it would be advantageous for them in most scenarios to offer that, okay? That's all you can do. It's up to them to decide if they're going to or not. And then as a part of that, one caveat that I would make sure that the seller understands, be open because it all depends on the offer. If there's an offer that comes in that makes sense for you to take and they're offering commission, we can always change it at that time, okay? If they want us to pay for the buyer broker commission, think about that. Because if you can educate them, this is how long it's taking for homes in this market, in your price point in this market to sell. So when you can help them with their overall, what do they overall want to get? The seller wants to get what? As much as they possibly can and as smooth of a process as we can. So if we can help to articulate, because have you had to drop prices of houses to sell them? I have a $1.5 million house that's been up for a year and we've dropped the price like $150,000. In the beginning, when it was listed and they didn't want to offer commission and somebody came and said, I'll pay full price for this house. If you pay the commission, of course they're going to do it, right? I'm going to advise them, hey, this is going to be the best thing. The longer we wait, the more we have to reduce the price. We're likely going to end up having to reduce it lower than what a commission would have been, where we could have just gone for it. So you as a professional need to understand what is the market for this price point, for this area, for this seller, so that you can help educate them. So then when an offer comes in, and if it makes sense for the seller, and the offer part of that is requesting for that commission, the buyer broker commission to be covered, there's definitely a good chance that the seller, when there is an offer in front of them saying, we'll buy this house at this price if you do this, that they may offer at that time, they may accept to pay that. So even if with this scenario that you're saying, even if the answer was no and they still want to see it, or you didn't get a hold of the listing agent and they still want to see it, there is a solid chance that when you actually submit an offer with that commission agreement, that it could be accepted at that time. Sorry, I think Jenna was waiting.
I just Tina's.
Sorry, Heather.
Oh.
Evan was first.
Oh,
Hey, why don't you guys say it at the same time? I'm just kidding. I didn't see that.
Oh, the only other scenario, there's yes and there's no, and then there's, well, tell me what your offer is, and it depends, because again, the listing agreement says up to X%.
Yeah.
And I've heard that scenario. So I just had my quick question is, if you call in someone and you ask, hey, are you offering compensation? And I tell you, depends what your offer is. Submit an offer and then I'll tell you. What would you do in that scenario?
So what I would say as a listing agent, I wouldn't say that. As a listing agent, I would say, my seller is very open. There's a lot of variable.
No, I'm asking you if I was a listing agent.
Oh, and you said
I
that to me?
told you that.
Okay, let's,
kind of being
okay, tell me. Okay, so I'm calling you. Ring, ring.
Hello?
Hey, yo, I'm only going to show your okay, I'm not gonna say. Hey, do you, we want to show, okay, I'm going to do it the way we should do it, okay? Hi, Rem. Thank you so much for answering. It's been kind of tricky to have listing agents answer their phone. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? What can I do for you?
Yes, I have a client who's very interested in your property on Blue Bison. It looks awesome from the pictures and everything, and we would like to see it. Is your seller offering buyer broker commission?
It just depends on the offer.
Sure, I can totally appreciate that. Is there something that's more important to your seller than something, than something else? Is there something in particular they're looking for?
I mean, a strong offer that is non-contingent would be ideal. For them.
Okay, so non-contingent. Is there anything else that's important to your client that would be helpful for me in showing the property?
Yeah, just a strong offer would be good. We'd love to see what you have to.
Okay, so strong, you mean non-contingent. Is there anything else that
Yeah.
means strong for them is
I mean, full price offer is strong. Wouldn't you agree?
full price? There's a lot of things that come into what strong means. So it's timing, how soon somebody can close, non-contingent, price, terms, depending on the condition of the property, due diligence, appraisal. There's a million things. Come on. It's not just price always, right? So tell me what is important to your seller, and we can keep that in mind as we're looking at the property.
Yeah, a strong buyer that can perform. My seller wants to get this sold.
Okay.
So if you feel like your buyer may be shaky, we're not looking for that. We're looking for someone
Got it.
that loves the house, that's emotionally attached to the home,
Okay.
that we feel comfortable and confident that's gonna
Okay.
help us move forward.
So stability of making sure that it's going to close is important to them. Timing, it sounds like timing is really important to them. Price wise, they're looking for
Yep,
something
all
strong
the
with
good
that.
things. Mhm.
Okay, so this is really helpful for me. I'll go to my buyer and then I'll just go ahead and send you the aligned whatever.
Request? Perfect.
Blah, blah. If we're still wanting to go forward with that.
Perfect.
What information do I know about this particular seller that I want to go back and talk to my buyer about? Yeah, so let's call out, what are the things that were important? Timing was important to them, okay? Stability of the buyer. So stability of the buyer, I would call that their qualifying, their ability to close, that kind of thing. What else? Pricing is important. So he said, I kind of had to dig that out. It sounded like it wasn't the most important because he also said that there's some urgency there. They want to just get it done. They don't want to have to mess with a shaky buyer. He said that specifically. What else? So now when I'm talking to my client, when I'm going back to my buyer and I'm assessing, can we hit all of these points? If I have a buyer that's fully qualified, they have a really good down payment, they don't have a home to sell, they are within this price range, and this is a home that fits those things that's important to the seller. Now, what is my likelihood that I can say, hey, we're going to go do all this for you, and we're asking for you to compensate the buyer broker commission? If I have a client that's trying to do 100% down or super low down payment, they have a home to sell, they're upside down a little bit in their home and they're trying to figure that out, they don't know their timing or any of these other things, would this be the best property for them anyway? Maybe not, right? And then they may not offer that. So there's so much more than just price when we're talking about it. So when you're reaching out and getting those scheduled, you can find out what is important.
So
And
it's
having
still
these
though, what if the listing
conversations.
agent never just is very strong in the sand and is not going to tell you what they're offering and just say submit an offer?
Yeah, then you just do that.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like you never know 100% when you're submitting an offer to a seller. You never know 100% what they're going to do. It's always going to be based on them, and it has to do with what's in front of them. You can say whatever, but when you have an offer in front of you and they have to decide, you're always coming in a little bit blind. You never 100% know.
My question, sorry, my thing. I apologize if you talk down there. Hiram, I'm questioning you for you to answer with the mic. Did you confirm that you are offering something? You just didn't specify what it was. You did say you're offering something, you just didn't say what it was.
No, I never said anything. I just said send me an offer. We have to talk about it, send us an offer, and we'll see what we can do.
See, I definitely think we're going to get that more than no. I think we're going to get, it depends on the offer versus a seller saying, I'm not going to offer it.
So no problem, Hiram. I fully understand what you're saying. So I have a first time home buyer and your price point is about $350. I'm trying to be transparent with you. I'm trying to understand. I would love to get more information. Are you guys offering any compensation at all?
Again, it just depends on the offer. If you send us an offer,
Thank
I'll
you
let
so
know.
much.
Yeah.
I think to answer your question earlier, when you did sit down with your buyer broker and you're actually having the hard conversation about, hey, sign this now. This is where you're going to have that conversation where there are going to be homes like this. So I highly suggest we maybe pick 1, 2, or 3. If you can't afford my fee, maybe because I'm a professional, I'm gonna negotiate my fee. There'll be another home that will, but there might be some that we might have to walk away from.
Well, we might have to show them properties, like you have to consider that when you're, well, I know. So, what I meant is when you're getting like their price point figured out, we have to consider that with it. Like the amount that they have in a down. So instead of like maxing them out price wise, if they are paying, there's a chance that they're paying the fee, then we may be looking at properties that are a little bit less. So that's now a part of the conversation.
Is that considered redlining from, it sounds like if we're just choosing homes based off of what we're gonna get paid, wouldn't that fall under redlining?
No, you can't, and that's not what I'm saying at all, is that you're giving your client all the information. It's the same thing, like if a client, they have to pay a down payment. And this is the amount of money that they have for a down payment. You're gonna show them homes that have to do with the down payment. You should get paid for your fee. They don't have to hire you. But if they hire you and they understand what the fees are, then they have to know at the bottom line what that's all going to be for them in order to make the decision of what they want to go see. Derek?
But we can say it kind of how he just paraphrased it, right? We should look at homes where I'm gonna get paid so that you don't have to pay out of pocket. Sorry. I'm trying to find the best way of phrasing that.
Well, so the way to phrase that would be, and I don't think that was bad because they know they're going to pay you a fee. There's nothing wrong with getting paid a fee. You should get paid a fee. Just to be clear. So it would be, hey, so this is what my buyer broker, this is what my fee is. They already agreed to it, things like that. I'm going to show you properties that are available. Some may offer it, some may not. We want to keep that. This is how much you're going to have for your down payment. You know, what's going to be required for your down payment based on talking to the lender. There's just going to be more in the beginning that we have to do, right? And so then as a part of that, this is how much you potentially could have to come to a close or, to cover the fee and your down payment.
Yeah, this is Derek Orr. In commercial real estate, it's been like this for years.
Yeah, 100%.
So we've already had to ask commercial agents, what's the buyer commission that you're offering on this, or tenant rep commission. And never one time have I gotten somebody that says depends on your offer. This is a one-off. It's a 1%. If you do get that and you get an a-hole agent that says that, sure, maybe that might happen. It's a one-off.
Well, I want to kind of shift your thinking a little bit because it is new.
It is new and it may happen, but if it does, just like right now in the past years, we don't know if a seller is going to offer buyer closing costs until we present the offer.
Until we negotiate. But I will
similar
say,
thing.
one part of it though is sometimes we can think that the agent is the a-hole when they're protecting they're doing what their client has instructed them to do. And so if their client is saying, it may have taken that agent some time to help the seller think that they should be open to it. We don't know what's behind the scenes. So if we can kind of give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
So slowing down, I think what the question was.
I didn't understand.
I still think it's a one-off though. I still think it's going to be an ultimate one-off where I just think it's going to be an ultimate one-off where most of the time you're going to have agents that tell you, yeah, we're offering 2.5%, 3%, or we're not offering anything at all.
That would be great. I think in the beginning, we're going to see everything. Come back, Sean.
We probably will.
I love you. Okay. I think we just don't know yet, but we just need to be prepared. But it has always been like that in the commercial world because they haven't had a protection of the MLS. So they've had to do that because there hasn't been that. So they haven't had to shift and they had to structure it that way without having the protection that we've had for all of these years. And so, okay.
This might be a dumb question, but I have a listing right now. So let's say they send in the payment addendum and they're asking for 3%. My seller's only willing to do 2.5.
Yeah.
As the addendum, do I fill out that same addendum back to them? Because I know you can't put it in the Rep C, like the commission, right? So I can't. Yeah. How do I just want to make sure I'm countering correctly.
To the listing agent?
I'm the listing agent. So the buyer, yes. So like I've got one right now. Yes. Yeah.
And you're asking.
I just want to make sure I'm doing it right.
It's on the broker to broker compensation form.
The broker. So that's how I counter.
Yes. Thank you.
Wait, is there a counter to the real estate brokerage But hang on.
She would refuse to sign it and send it one that had 0.5%.
The new escrow form.
The new escrow for, yeah, is the commission, that's the answer. I haven't seen if there's an addendum to that. Do we know yet? To counter back and forth? Well, the idea is that it is an up to and that the buyer pays the difference. That's the way that they wrote it.
So Sarah just brought out Sarah just brought up that because it's an addendum, we can just reject it and then resend that same document over showing that we would just do two.
Oh, there we go.
That's an excellent.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
separate from the REPC. Yeah,
Thank you. Perfect.
yeah, good call. Hi.
Hey, so we're all familiar with net sheets, right? We've been doing net
Yeah.
sheets forever for people,
Yeah.
right? So they know what they're actually paying.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to kind of take a little bit that approach with our offers
Mhm.
with people. Because some of the offers are going to include, you know, some sellers are going to include incentives.
Yeah.
Builders have been doing it forever, right?
Well, what are they calling it? Concessions.
Right.
There's a field on
concessions.
there for sellers concessions.
Right, but builders forever have been saying, hey, you get $30,000 in the design center, you get this, and then people kind of weigh all of that stuff and decide who they're gonna build with.
Yeah.
After everything's put together. It's gonna be kind of the same way. We're gonna have to handle it kind of the same way
Yeah.
with our offers that we say, hey, we're gonna offer 700,000 for this house. They're not offering a concession for buyer's agent on here.
Yeah.
So that means there's a buyer's agent fee that you're gonna have to pay. So this is gonna be closer to X amount is your actual offer.
Yeah.
That you're putting in on this versus this one over here is offering this concession.
Yeah.
So this is where it comes in at. What makes more sense to you guys? What's the better deal for you?
Yeah. And did you know that there is an offer in Command? They have a tab or a field. What is the word I'm trying to say? There is a little thing, an icon thing that's an offer thing that creates that for you. So you can, it's like a multiple offer kind of thing. You can do it because typically we talk about multiple offers in comparing properties when we're representing a seller and we're receiving a bunch of them. It's a tool that you can use when you're talking to a buyer. Hey, you have these 5 properties that you want to see. I put them all in here. It kind of does like the net sheet where you can pull it out for them and show these are the 5 properties. This is what you're going to be looking at. Which one makes the most sense for you to offer on?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Okay, so kind of going back to the fear of being sued. This is my fear, and I apologize. I'm trying to address my fear. The whole purpose of why I'm here. So as a listing agent, if I go and I'm offering, yes. So if you call me and you ask, Sean, are you offering compensation? My answer is going to be yes. Am I going to tell you a number? No. I'm going to ask you what your buyer broker says.
Yeah.
Just like scenario 2 says. The reason why I'm going to ask you that is because I do not want to be sued from my seller for the simple fact that the whole purpose of this was you established your value.
Yeah.
We're going to pay you what your value is.
Yeah.
So, Emily, what's your buyer broker say? You say 2.5%. I know my client's willing to pay 2.5%. You're covered. Rock and roll. Answer. I asked, answered, gone. But if you come back and you're like, I don't know,
Yeah, you
you've already,
understand your value.
you've
I think
already
that's important.
signed your buyer
Yeah.
broker prior to showing my house. I mean, it is kind of what it is. I guess my concern is, what's the best way for me not to be sued? It's your third.
Comfort gives you any comfort or not, but I just paid a shit ton of money to renew our E&O insurance. Okay, so big fatty amount that covers our brokerage, and it was due in August. So
Okay, you know.
we just paid that, and we use it, and you pay into that,
Yes.
and you're covered for that. We all do our best, and we try and think through, and we try and learn. You being here gives me so much comfort, and you are protected being a part of our brokerage. Just if you have a question, reach out to me or Mike, and we'll help you.
So
the
another
structure.
add on to it. So for example, when I go take on a buyer, and because I used to do it the wrong way, I'm open. I'll tell you how I used to do it, and I'm not embarrassed. I used to sign with the e-signatures. I used to sign my buyer broker first, then the REPC, and then any addendum, etc. But my buyer broker was always first, establishing buyer broker prior to the contract being signed based on date time. But that was me being OCD. With that being said, submitting over an offer, do I need to submit over the commission agreement first, or is it the same time? Or
Yep, it's in here.
So submit over my,
It's in here. So I'd love to finish
Do I-
going through this because I think it'll help answer some questions.
does that need to be agreed upon and signed prior to submitting over the offer, did it say?
Yeah.
Okay. Answer.
Are we okay if I finish going through this? And then maybe, it's okay. No, these are really good discussions because it brings up additional questions that we have. So I appreciate. Yeah. Will you make sure everyone has a copy? And then maybe write some questions down after I go through, and then we can keep talking about it. Cool? Everyone feel good? Sorry, I said shit out loud. Okay. And I'm sorry, I just said it again.
And you're not sweet.
Can I ask a really quick question about a listing that I have?
Say again.
Can I ask a quick question about a listing that I have for the new addendum? The client is not willing to sign the new addendum, and it's a listing that I have that's the pocket listing. Is there anything that we should do, or they don't want to sign the new addendum?
Do you know why they don't want to sign it?
Yeah, they just don't like signing paperwork. It took them almost a year to sign my listing agreement, and I finally got it signed, and they've just been very difficult to work with. They won't sign a cancellation because I told them I don't want to be out of compliance, so I may have to cancel. They're like, well, we're not going to sign your cancellation either.
Okay.
So I don't want to drop them, but I want to be in compliance.
Do you think it would be helpful for them if they had a conversation with you and Mike? Like if Mike called and gave him like a little, maybe a little bit of understanding and.
Yeah, maybe. I'll try doing that. I'll reach out to Mike and see if he can talk to them.
Well, and
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. If you need something like that before Monday, then will you reach out to me? Mike is taking 3 days off. Let's let him have it.
Okay, sounds good. Just one last question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I did have an agent that reached out to me yesterday and asked me if my seller is offering buyer broker commission. And technically, because we use the original listing agreement, we are, but because of the new law, I'm not allowed to really answer that question. So I'm kind of stuck.
Why aren't you allowed to answer that question?
I figured I wasn't allowed because I'm
You're
not in
allowed.
compliance.
Allow it.
Oh, I am?
The only place you can't talk about commission is the MLS. You can talk about commission every single other place. The only place you cannot is the MLS. So send messages, send emails, put it up on your website, put it up on social media. You can put it everywhere except the MLS.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so over the next 3 days, call or text me, email me. Okay, let's let Mike be at Disney World with his daughters for 2 days. That will help you. Monday, he's back in it, but he's been working like crazy. Okay, so I'm going to finish reading this. Hold your questions and your applause. Okay, number 2. Listing agent says yes, but they ask you what your buyer broker fee is. Then you have 2 choices. Okay. 1, you can tell the listing agent that what the fee is on your buyer broker, and if that matches the amount of compensation that they are offering, you will go ahead and fill out the real estate brokerage compensation agreement as mentioned above. You sign it and send it to the listing agent to get it signed before you make your offer, okay? If you don't want to tell the listing agent what your compensation agreement is, and we're going to be learning like, what's that game, Risk, or what's like a real strategy game, like, it's kind of like that.
Yeah. So on this compensation agreement that you have to get signed before you submit an offer.
Yeah.
So does Mike have to sign that before we send that over?
No, you just have to have them sign.
Okay, there's a spot in there for.
Yeah. No. Good question. You can still fill out the real estate brokerage compensation agreement, sign it, and send it to your listing agent to see if they will sign it. If they don't, then you will have to address your brokerage fee in the offer. Okay.
I thought we could just do that anyway, though. I feel like with my plan moving forward was every offer, I have that addendum.
Yeah, so everything is
So
clear. Yep.
Everything's clear.
I always would have it if you're clear. It's not required every time, but I would do it just for it's clear.
Meaning the real estate brokerage compensation.
Yes.
Will go with every offer. Is that what
The
you're
real estate brokerage compensation agreement
Yeah.
will go with every offer. Yep. 3, listing agent says there's no cooperative compensation being offered. In this case, you will want to use the real estate brokerage payment addendum with your offer to ask the seller to pay your brokerage fee.
If they say no, then our buyer client.
If they say no, our buyer client is paying the fee, which they already know that is, they knew before they saw the house that was. And there's still a really good chance it's the best property for them and they want to do it. So go team.
Something that's interesting is when you call a listing agent, they tell you no compensation is being offered and you're all like bitter and pissed about it. You know? And then the tables turn and then you have a listing and that same agent brings a buyer. Because it will
I know.
eventually happen. It's gonna be like, oh, you know.
That's why I'm always nice. I try to be pleasant.
I mean, obviously you'll already have a compensation conversation, so if your clients agree to pay them, you still have to pay them, but there's a big party, you don't want to tell them to F off.
Yeah, I'm always nice and I do not forget things. So I'm always nice. I'm like, oh yeah, remember me? Okay.
Well, what comes around goes around.
Yeah.
If we put out generosity, positive vibes, if our clients want to do that, right? There's something that Sean said that stood out when he was talking about the option, when you're showing here client, I'm with my buyers, Betty Lou, here's the 4 houses and we do a net sheet. That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Because if we can find out what's being offered from 4 listing agents.
Yep.
And we do a net sheet, if Betty Lou's funds are tight and if she's open to a lot of locations and types of homes, she's most likely going to pick the home where they are offering a buyer.
Which is her right.
Which just means in my mind, if I'm a listing agent, I'm encouraging all my sellers to offer a compensation to the buyer because we want to bring the most buyers in. We want the most buyers to choose from.
It's a marketing fee. So
it's a marketing
you spend
fee.
the money
Yeah.
where the people are.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
It's a marketing fee.
Say
That's
that
what
again.
builders always do. That's why they don't automatically do a 3% reduction. They take from this property, we're expecting 50% people will have an agent. They don't raise their price 3% for every property. It's a marketing fee. It's the same as paying for a billboard, right? Let's get a mic on Scott. He's got a great voice. Let's get you mic'd so everyone can hear you. You want this? You want a pack? Let's get you a battery pack.
Crap, what was I gonna say?
Marketing fee, sellers should pay for it. That's where the buyers are. Billboards, builders, 3%, 50%. Net sheet.
We'll come back in a second. Keep going.
Great voice.
It'll come back. Don't worry.
Okay, maybe hold that mic. You hold that mic. Okay, so now let's go to this. So this is up on the, I reserve the right to change. Okay, you remembered?
So as a listing agent, be kind of careful.
Zip it.
You have to be careful as a listing agent because what's going to happen is inevitably there's going to be more unrepresented buyers coming around because they're not going to want to pay commissions. And so you have to be careful, right? Because I personally see lawsuits coming down the pipeline where a buyer, they can't pay an agent, so they don't use one. And then they get into a transaction and things go sideways. They feel like certain things weren't disclosed to them. They didn't understand this. They got taken advantage of because of that. Oh, I'm going to get a lawyer involved. Like I just see a lot of legal stuff coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
So like as a listing agent, you have to be really careful about what you can and can't do, look at the agency, how that all shakes out. Because like it can just get nasty with more unrepresented buyers that are going to be coming.
Well, and I would say too, like there was kind of the era of this sort of conversation back in it started really in August 2020 when the market started to just get crazy, is that people weren't going to want to pay commissions because buyers were coming. But then when they had 30, 40 offers, they want, you know what I mean? Like it's the same kind of thing. I think a lot of consumers are confused because you get every sort of answer, every single answer as the only answer when there's like a million of them that contradict each other. And I think it's very confusing for the consumer. So I have found personally, people that I've talked to feel safer now. Like it's almost like, hey, well, what would you do? You're an agent. What would you do? Like, what should I do? What's the best thing to do? I think we'll see other things happen. We have an entrepreneurial environment, right? So there'll be different things that pop up. There'll be, that will just come with it. But I think right now people are just really looking for education. There's a lot that they don't understand that I think we have an advantage to be a sound, safe voice for people, and that will help them. I mean, that cabin that I just did for my sister, I was gonna I have a policy that I do for my family or whatever. And she's like, oh no, you are taking 100% of that. We want you to get 3%, 100% of that, because we don't know what's going on. We just want to throw our hands up. You please take care of it. I think we're going to see that as well.
So I guess to piggyback on Scott's question or statement, that kind of is the realm I'm concerned about, is being a seller's agent. I do see that happening, and that's my fear. So, Emily, sorry for the pressure, because you got the broker experience. But yes, I know this is uncharted thing. So just tell me, roll with it the best you can. What protection? I mean, obviously, I'm going to get the unrepresented buyer form signed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to help me, et cetera. But what's going to help me stay out of court?
Okay. So let's go through this and let's hold our questions and a pause. But that's an important question. So we're going to go through that. Okay. So if you can go to this sheet. Oh, thanks for pulling that for me. So on the side, if you look right here, and I did link the forms in this, but the MLS is kind of changing it. They keep shifting around, so the links are kind of broken. And then I'll fix it, and then it gets broken again because it's coming directly. So it's their fault, not mine, is what I'm saying. So this at least has the name of the form, and you can get in there. So if the link isn't working, just, okay. So if you look on this side, it says representing a buyer path. On the bottom, it's representing a seller path, okay? So on the buyer path, prior to showing homes, which now we've reiterated that quite a bit. Are you feeling the impact and importance of getting that signed prior? Okay. Prior to showing homes, because I do know that Mike is going to watch this recording because he did on Tuesday too. So I got to make sure. Mike, prior to showing homes, I've said this a lot for you, which is good. Get buyer broker agreement negotiated and signed by buyer. 2, prior to showing homes, contact listing agent to inquire on cooperative compensation seller is offering, if any. If yes, okay, see my arrows? If yes, ask for real estate brokerage compensation agreement offered by seller. If no, and it has a little asterisk, note, buyer's compensation is paid for buyer unless negotiated in writing with seller. I put that in there because I just want us to get back to the correct way of thinking, because we haven't been thinking in those terms for a while, okay? So if no, draft real estate brokerage compensation agreement for seller to sign. Send. On the seller path. And this is mainly for the buyer, but I think that the intricacies are really on the seller side. Do you feel that? I mean, I guess it's on both. But on the seller side, 1, prior to listing a home, get an exclusive right to sell agreement, negotiated and signed. 2, prior to listing a home, get cooperative compensation agreement. So that's not something that's being required from them, but we think that's the best possible thing, is to get that signed right up front, okay? Because that's essentially like your MLS listing input form, where they put the commission amount that they're agreeing to when it goes up on the MLS. This is your protection that the seller said they were going to pay that, right? You want to get that. That's going to go to the buyer's agent. 3, where can I market my cooperative compensation to the buyer's agent? Anywhere but the MLS. Okay, I just wanted to make that clear. And then we also added, so I'm gonna answer your question, but we also added on the Home Hub stuff, we added on all the marketing things, the percentage of where you can put the commission that's being offered by the seller. So like your listing, maybe your flyers, you wanna have it on there. It's part of marketing, okay? So then when you have an unrepresented buyer that comes to see the house, this to me is the trickiest one. You have somebody that puts in an offer that's unrepresented. We talked about this quite a bit at team meeting. Who was there on Tuesday? We talked about the unrepresented buyer. Okay, I want somebody to explain what we talked about.
With Amy Gibbons, 2 options
Mm-hmm.
in an addendum.
Mm-hmm. What? Okay. Okay, so you explain it to us.
Well, that was the part I was actually confused about because if we're putting the exclusive right to sell and then we're getting them to sign the real estate brokerage commission agreement,
Yeah.
then we obviously are writing up the addendum just for the seller instructs the company to wait to submit property to the MLS. But then why do we need section 1 if we have it in writing on the real estate brokerage compensation agreement?
Section 1, tell me more about. I want to see. I don't know exactly.
So if we have this signed, because I'm going to a listing appointment in a couple hours, so I've
Okay.
print. So
Let's
we
start
have,
her up, y'all.
yeah. So I printed out this and then I was looking at this addendum. I don't know how many times I'm going to do that. Thank you. And then it has this where it says, if the buyer is represented by an agent being compensated either on the rep fee by the seller or in section 2.2 of the exclusive right to sell listing agreement, the listing brokerage in section 2.1 shall be. But why would you need to write that if you have it on the real estate brokerage commission agreement? Like, why do you need both?
So the problem, the real estate brokerage commission.
Yeah, like if I'm having, because Mike said you should have this signed and ready to go and like
Yeah.
have a picture, and then anybody who calls to ask you about it, you just send them that.
So you only do this if this is addressing if there's an unrepresented buyer. That's the only purpose for these 2 examples, is if there's an unrepresented buyer. So on that addendum that we showed, it's just for an unrepresented buyer. This is just for general for you. This is, so we gave 2 examples of what to say if there's an unrepresented buyer.
Oh, okay.
Not both of these. One was how Amy Gibbons words it, and one's how Mike words it. And then Mike also always puts on this addendum, just the way, you
Because
know.
we're no longer using the MLS exclusion form.
Exactly.
Okay.
Does that make sense, you guys? Does that help? So this
Okay.
is just for the unrepresented buyer.
Okay, perfect.
Do you have a question, Sari?
I did the same thing with my client last night.
Okay.
Because I have a listing going live next week, but we signed, I know, yay. We signed the paperwork in May.
Okay.
And so I was really worried about it.
Okay.
How they'd receive it. I went over last night and I increased, so I changed it so that my brokerage was 4.5.
So you did an addendum.
I did the exclusive right to sell addendum.
Okay, good job.
And did it at 4.5% for me and 3% for the buyer.
7.5%? Or no,
Yes.
you're getting 1.5 if they have it.
So then I did an additional addendum and it specified that if there is a buyer's agent, I get 3%. And if there is not a buyer's agent, I get 4.5%. But for them, because I was like, I know it's not ideal, but if that's the best offer, but it saves them 1.5%. And I was so worried about it. And
Yeah.
they were fine with it. They were happy. They were like, yep, great. Sounds good. Show me where to sign. Didn't have any issues at all.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I think, what is it? There's a quote. I'm trying to remember who says it. It's probably Einstein because he's smart, but it's a quote about how if it's hard to explain, it means you don't understand it. And I think it's the same. So if you're having difficulty explaining something, there's a part of it you don't understand. And I think people pick up on that. So part of our worry is maybe just not having it fully committed to memory, to complete understanding, to be able to explain simply. And so it's just going to take some talking out. It's different thinking through versus talking it out, which is why we're doing so much of this. Twice a week, we're going to talk about it. And then anytime you want to sit down and talk about it, we're going to do that. But when we're specifically talking about that addendum and stuff, Rebecca, that really just, if it's a typical agreement, and the reason we had to have that is the listing agreement now, the exclusive listing agreement, says, it used to be that you would have the commission amount, it's section 2.1. And then section 2.2 says if there's a buyer's agent, that this is the portion that would go to them. But then they added this section 2.3 in the new listing agreement and the addendum for, you know, the old listing agreement that says that those are added together. So it basically, instead of saying if it was 6%, instead of saying 3 goes to you, 3 goes to the buyer's agent, because it adds it up, it says 9%. If there's an unrepresented buyer. So that's why we have to have that addendum to help clear it up. Right, which is why we have to have the addendum for it. Oh. Right. We don't want to do that.
I use the exact same wording as that thing, but put in specifically unrepresented buyer is 4.5%. But if the buyer has an agent, it's 3%. I used the same wording.
I just want to double check with Mike because Amy and Mike both specifically left that out. So I just want to verify.
Talk to him about it beforehand. So, but not in the last 72 hours.
Thanks, Sean. Bye. So there's going to be like a few of these. That's why you got the 2 sources we want to have. Okay, quick second. We're always going to update on the newsletter every week that comes out. Okay, so please watch for the newsletter. And then we're going to keep things updated on the home hub. So like if it's at night and you want to get a quick answer, that we'll have it updated as it goes. Because there may be some things like that shift as we learn more. Like use this word, Kay, don't use that word. So just I have a huge asterisk on all of this that we are keeping super up to date, and we will communicate out anything that we have and that we know. And you can always text, call me, email me. If it's anything that has to do with Mike's license, he's on the hook. I've been a broker since 2008. I am very involved in this. And my license is not on the line, Mike's is. So I like to loop him in on some of those specific things that he's comfortable with. I want to make sure that it is his say. It is his say as the principal broker. I want to make sure that he's in on that too. Yes.
Just at the risk, I wasn't here on Tuesday, but I talked to Mike a lot about it.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why it's like that, why him and Amy are thinking that is because that way the total commission, the seller's side commission, our commission is higher. So we started at that higher amount, which would be that unrepresented buyer amount. And then the addendum is saying it could be lower, but I think that's because they're more comfortable with us bringing it from a higher number to a lower number than if we put that lower number to start with an addendum that could raise it higher. I think that's why we don't address the unrepresented. The initial one, that higher amount is the unrepresented, and then it can go lower. So,
right. Exactly that. Exactly that. And then also because of the up to, right? Because that's the new thing from the settlement was that the buyer has already decided with their client what they're getting compensated. And so the seller can only pay up to that amount that was already decided, because that was the crux of the whole lawsuit. That the buyer, so it was sellers that sued, that said, why am I paying for this buyer's service? And I had no control over what it was that I was going to pay. It's the buyer.
They weren't told that.
But
They weren't told.
they didn't have those agreements, right? They didn't have those buyer broker agreements.
Did you get the agents that were like, oh, I'd love if you do a discount on listing price, but my broker.
My broker don't let me, yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Standard commission, yeah. There's a lot of little things, and we have it better than anyone really in Utah. So we're ahead of the curve, and I think that's going to show. We just have national news, which we call the internet. We renamed it to Brainstorm. That's what the internet is. It's just everyone brainstorming and spitballing stuff. So they're getting all this national news, all this stuff out there that doesn't necessarily apply here. So we've got to be really good educators, be calm, be informative, be educated, understand it in a way that you can simply articulate it. If you can't simply articulate it, then maybe we need to go through it again so you understand it better.
I think it'd be a good like marketing opportunity to reach out to your database and just like create a contact point there to like educate people, have that conversation.
Yeah.
Just people know, right? Like,
Yeah,
a lot of people hear stuff, they don't really know like how it applies, what it really means, you know?
I've actually seen a couple of videos where agents have just posted explaining it, and I think they do a really good job. There's one person locally and one person nationally that I've saved these 2 videos. Is that helpful so you can see like an example of how to talk about that? Okay, we'll include them in the newsletter. Maybe we'll record our own because I don't know. We'll record our own video that says this is how to articulate it and talk about it. Just so that you have an example for if you're going to do like a big general message, because that's what social media is everybody that you know is sitting in one room and you're saying what, right, to them. Yeah.
Just a back on the 4.5 unrepresented buyer. If there is an unrepresented buyer, usually when that happens, I just end up representing the buyer. So when it shows 3 and 3, the whole like 4.5, if there's an unrepresented, you could also just sign an unrepresented buyer as a buyer and then do both.
You can today.
For now.
But to be full disclosure, honest with you, I think that will go away industry-wide. Limited agency. That's my personal opinion. I think limited agency is so gray right now. I think that's going to be the next thing on the chopping block.
Okay.
Today, yes.
So still can.
Yeah.
Because that's the other part. Like, anytime I've had an unrepresented buyer that wants to see it, I just end up signing it.
Right. Yeah. You just need to make sure that your seller understands that they have to agree to it and they have to understand that that is a possibility.
Correct.
Rebecca, you're going to get that listing today. Good. We are doing it. Real estate is happening.
Compensation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's what I think we're looking for. It's like people that communicate and are straightforward, because it's hard to write an offer. And is the buyer paying, or are they rolling it into some kind of cost? Or they,
yeah.
I mean, if it gets all creative, you can't create something if you don't have a number.
Yeah. And as like a listing agent, especially a property that maybe you're getting a lot of traction on, save a text, like do a template text, because if you have multiple people that are wanting to see that, if you can just have a text that says, yes, it's blah, blah, blah. We're going to come up with little hacks and tricks as we go along. Because if somebody wants to see 27 properties, it's like gonna start to get monotonous. I can see us getting lazy in our communication just because of how much of it we're gonna have to do. So just keep your eye out for tips and tricks, and let's share that with each other of how we can kind of get some hacks and how we can do this easy, quick. Yeah. Can you put a note you can't put any commission amount in it. You know where you can, though?
Aligned is considered.
That's what I was gonna say. You can in aligned today.
That's what I'm saying. So
You can
only
in
today?
aligned. You can in aligned.
It's not part of the MLS.
It's not a part of the MLS, and in the instructions you can today.
100% sure?
Mike said yeah. Well, let's ask him. Mike?
We better check. So I have a quick question, and it might be answered on this sheet with the arrows, but I have a new listing and I signed some things yesterday, but I don't think I signed everything because I'm like, wait, Rebecca has more documents than I do for her listing. So is there a list of all the things that need to get signed, and is it only the new ERS and?
So it's updated in Command. The forms in Command are updated. Like all the new stuff is updated in Command, like in the opportunity and everything that you need to have signed, it's updated in Command. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and I don't use Command to see this.
Oh, okay. So you want a list of everything
like
that's
in the MLS, what forms am I downloading?
You know what? I'll update the sheet to show exactly what it is that you need. That's good feedback. Thank you. You guys wait 1 second. Let's see if Mike answers. And then let's edit the video. And if he says that you can't, then we'll edit the video where I'll say, no, you can't. And that's all that was in there. So he might be on the Harry Potter ride or something like that. Well, let's see. He's knows this is happening right now. So
See a mass text that says, yes, you can go out. That's probably, it's just my, yes, you can.
yes, you can. We are gonna just like hang for a sec if you can, but we're gonna keep navigating all this, you guys. And it's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. How long have you guys been in this business? Okay, let's do this. 3 years or under, raise your hand. 3 to 5. 5 to 10. Yeah, 10 plus 10 to 15. Yeah, well, you've been. 15 to 20. I'm your senior. The only thing that is the same. Yeah, these are the guarantees of life. Change happens. You have to pay your taxes and concrete cracks. Those are the only 3 things that are guaranteed in this world. And the same.
Yeah.
I don't like your tone about how long ago it was, by the way, but it was the same.
You're making like $5 grand a deal, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, because like, well, yeah, because that is so true. Like it was a 5 grand. We have gotten the pay raise in the last 4 years on the major. The median home price in Salt Lake County is $600,000.
That's kind of the point,
Almost
right?
like, but yeah,
Even a deal you're getting 2%, you're doing fine.
you're doing all right.
Pretty freaking high.
Yep,
3's great, but you get what I'm saying.
I do get what you're saying. Not recommended. Okay. Hey, you can't do that anymore. There was a point when we were saying that you could, but like I said, asterisk, we're going to keep you updated on everything. Not recommended. Conversations are good because also, I don't know if you were here and we were having a debate with Hiram, it's a good opportunity when you're talking to the listing agent to find out what is important to that seller so that you can structure your buyer's offer in a strong position. Anything else? Are we doing okay? Yes.
On the MLS,
Yes.
put a link
No.
to our website.
No.
Anything attached to the MLS.
Right. So you can have like on your website, you can have a link to the MLS for the listing. You have to have in a different field, a different spot, the commission.
One little quick scenario. So I had something happen like a decade ago where an agent told me if I wanted to be, he was on the MLS, he lists the house on the MLS. He told me that if I want to be compensated, that amount had to go on top of their asking price.
Yeah, that's 100% in commercial and land. That's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
Always.
So, we had a whole arbitration hearing about everything and like I won and I got paid because I wouldn't.
Oh, because it was on the MLS for the 3%, but then he told you how to increase the price.
Hit that. Like,
Did you win?
I did. So I did the deal and basically like ate crap in front because I wasn't gonna let the clients come get a house because of my commission. So I bought it after the fact.
Oh, what a guy.
Anyway, my point is if like an agent said that like now, like with this whole new restructure and system and everything like that, would that still, he still is butt stapled to the wall, or would it be like, oh,
Yeah, in commercial because you don't have the protection of the MLS, which we do not either. But every land deal, anything like that, whenever we're looking at land and we're doing our performance, it's always added, always added, always, right? So that's the thing too. Okay.
Thank you.
You can't put it on the Supra. Yeah, you just texted that to me. Thank you. Did you see that one where it's like, people are pretty funny.
That's so creative.
That is creative. You can do that.
Like inside the MLS, maybe they put 3% inside their
You can't do that.
Nothing that's tied, because that's a service tied to the MLS.
You can have a sign.
Take it out. Put it on your sign. You can put it on your sign. You can do a sign writer. What we're working toward is having like stickers that are QR codes that they can sign that they can scan that says the percentage on your sign. You can do that where they just scan it. You can do a sign writer that says, I wouldn't say 3% offered, because for your client, it might not be that. It depends on the offer, right? I would say compensation offer.
Cooperative.
Yes, cooperative compensation offer. Yeah. Yeah, you can do all of that. You guys are so smart. And I just like spending time with you. Thank you for going through all of that.
Thank you for training. It's hard for you guys because you're learning this as you go too, and then you're having to like turn around and like teach it. That's hard.
Do you want to hear something that's so funny? When I like talk to Mike, because I've been kind of trying to manipulate him for years to come be our broker, because Rich, like we had a plan with Rich. So I knew there was going to be an end date with him. He was always very upfront with that. And for 2 years, he's been like, hey, we're like 2 years past my plan. And so I've been talking to Mike multiple times. Didn't work. Finally, he was like, you know what, it might work. So we sat down for the first time to talk about broker, and he was like, I'm excited. Yeah, I think let's do it. No joke. We got the text while we were sitting in the boardroom, the text that said, blah, 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 NAR, settled, blah, blah, right then. And he's like, oh, do you think I should read this? I'm like, sign now. Sign this right now. You sign this right now. We are going for it. It's going to be fine. It's not that big of a deal. Everyone's overreacting. Just go sign it. Sign it. Okay. Well, let us know. Honestly, I'm around all weekend if you need something, even if you need like a little bit of confidence. This is what I'm planning to do. I'd be happy to help you. Okay. Hey, good luck. Bye, Zoom.
Thank you.